Just breathe in, just calm down. We're gonna have a nice, comfy episode. No threats of human extinction, no monsters, no cancer mouse. Oh, thank God, I think he's sleeping. Whatever happened to Raven? They used to take engines from id Software and make pretty good games with them. Except Hexen. Fuck Hexen. Switch hunting is not a puzzle. 1/6? Bullshit! Heretic was medieval Doom, starring an elf named Corvus. You get a Corvus like the Raven, like... Heretic is okay, it's not mind-blowing, it's literally a Doom clone with a few nice additions like being able to look up and down and an inventory, even if half those inventory items are basically Doom power-ups. I'm looking at you, Torch, Shadow Sphere, and Invincibility, but you know, some new stuff, some interesting enhancements, which they then bring on to Hexen, which... Hexen looks very nice for a Doom engine game. The architecture is the best the engine ever saw. The switch hunting is so bad that I was going to do an episode on it, but then I played Tech War. So for a long time, Raven was close to id Software, like right down the street at one point. And so they used id engines to make games, and after Quake they started making games with the id engines that were usually better than the tech demos that id was putting out. Shut up, Quake 2 is a tech demo. It's nice, it's decently designed, it can be fun, but it lacks the soul of earlier id games. With an upgraded engine from Wolfenstein 3D, Raven made Shadowcaster and Cyclones. With the Doom engine, they made Heretic and Hexen. With the Quake engine, they made Hexen 2, which I actually like, for the most part. Just because they're red doesn't mean they should have 10 times the HP, you assholes! But then in 1998, they used the Quake 2 engine to make Heretic 2. Sorry, I forgot about Mage Slayer and Take No Prisoners. I've played Mage Slayer, it's okay, but who the fuck else has played Mage Slayer? I know you're already typing, leave a comment if you played Mage Slayer. So Heretic 2 came out in 1998, followed by a slew of just remarkable games from Raven. Soldier Fortune, Dark Forces 3, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, which is fantastic, Quake 4, which isn't bad, but I'd kill for a Quake 1 reboot because I could not possibly give less of a shit about the Strogg. Remember that Wolfenstein game from 2009? No? Looks a lot better after New Colossus, doesn't it?
That's the best you got. Then your best won't do. Your best won't do. We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it.
Yeah, suck it, Hitler. You're not my real dad. But then Activision turned them into a Call of Duty factory. Thanks, Activision. No, that's fine. I prefer when Activision uses talented studios just to make themselves fucking Call of Duty DLC, you fucks! Even if I didn't like Hexen, Raven was a company more than capable of creating a good game. So I was in an electronics boutique in the late 90s, and even though they weren't supposed to sell me M-rated games, I got a copy of every Quake 2 engine game there. Except one. What was I talking about? Heretic 2. What the fuck is this game? Okay, what if I told you that this was a fun and awesome game, right? And the design meetings were like, hey, let's make an action game that looks as good as Unreal and is also a third-person shooter, but it controls way better than Tomb Raider because Tomb Raider's controls of platforming were dog shit? So Heretic 2 came out October 31st, 1998, and if you can't see where this is going, Half-Life came out less than 3 weeks later because we can't have nice things, Gabe. That's not fair. This game's kind of been buried because of Activision. And also id, I guess. There's a rights issue between those two, which is why you can't buy Heretic 2 anymore. You can buy Heretic and Hexen 2, but not Heretic 2. I'm glad I own a copy because Heretic 2 is probably the best and the most fun game in the series. This game's great and it deserves a re-release. Let's take a magical journey, kids, to the land of Parthoris for some nerdy D&D shit, but not too nerdy because this is still an action game. You are Corvus, and in the last game, meaning in Heretic, not Hexen or Hexen 2, which kind of take place in the same universe, there's 3 Serpent Riders, Desperal, who's the boss of Heretic, Korax, who's the boss of Hexen, and Eidolon, the boss of Hexen 2, but Desperal is the only one who actually rides a serpent, and he's an asshole who teleports around, so fuck him. Anyway, the first episode of Heretic is the City of the Damned, where Corvus lives. He is a young Civvie, which is some kind of elf, but the totally ripped kind who doesn't wear a shirt and can't go a hot minute without killing monsters. And he gets possession of this magic wand. And this is retconned in Heretic 2, but I don't care. This is a wand made by his ancestors, the Seraphs, very powerful wizard types, which I don't understand because without the Tome of Power, that wand is only slightly more effective than Doom's pistol. For resisting Desperal, he was called the Heretic, which is actually a pretty awesome name. Corvus found one of the OG Tomes of Power and carried it with him. He used it to fight Desperal, which is where the Heretic II story begins.
Ever the brave warrior.
Your serpent lies dead. It ends here, Desperal.
Somnated son of a gallant attempt, but your stand ends here. Curse you, Corbin! I curse you with all the despair of the lost god!
And Desperal cursing him to roam the outer dimensions forever without being able to return home. That sucks. Until the Tome of Power, which also talks now, says that she can open a portal because she can hear her sisters calling, because some absolute dick in Parthoris tried to use them.
The other tomes of power have been opened, and a powerful spell has been cast. The aura will serve as a beacon, allowing me to open a world ripple to our realm.
So many ages. Parthoris was becoming just fragments in my mind. This isn't right. Where is everyone?
Guys, look at this fucking game. I'm just running this with official patches right now, but this ain't a source port. This is running in 1080p in proper widescreen, by using this hack program and editing the FOV accordingly, obviously. PC Master Race over here, and it is beautiful. I compared it to Unreal earlier. It easily looks as good as Unreal, sometimes better. Better than Half-Life, just in terms of art design. The colors, the effects, the skyboxes, just absolutely breathtaking shit for 1998. I only had one major problem with the graphics, which is that if there's fog like underwater, or in this one level that's foggy, all the spherical effects that surround the projectile are, well, look. It's a bitch to play through, but it's not a deal breaker. But Quake 2 was developed as an engine for first-person shooters, so how did the transition to third-person go? The camera is almost never a problem. The movement is slick and responsive. It never feels like Quake 2 movement. It feels a little more grounded. And it only gets wonky occasionally. Corvus here, our shirtless city warrior, has 1600 frames of animation that are almost all tied to the action perfectly. I can't overstate how well this is done, especially for 1998. Your first moments in the game involve killing rats. Aiming is a little bit of a problem because your attacks don't always go where the crosshair says. There's a little bit of a delay, they're not hit scans. And it makes it a pain to hit these rats, the weakest enemy in the game, but also the most prevalent, so just step on them. The first attack is a fireball. It consumes green mana. You have green mana for offensive spells and blue mana for defensive spells. Starting you off with the fireball spell equipped buries the lead a little bit, because you also have this, the Durnwood Staff, which is a holdover from Heretic I, where it was garbage in a last resort. Not anymore.
You're gonna die.
What ails him? He looks to be diseased.
It's not enough to make a third-person combat game. No, you need to make one with some sweet melee mechanics. This staff is the reason I don't play with always run selected in the options menu. Okay, let's break this down. Walking and swinging, simple attack. Running forward and swinging, you do a more powerful frontal attack. Strafe running and swinging does a circular attack. Walking, jumping, and pressing attack does a difficult to use but effective downward stab. And running and then jumping with the staff does a pole vaulting kick to the face. It's a little better than this shit. If any of this looks familiar, well, I'd like to think of it as a trial run for when Raven would go on to make the definitive version of lightsaber combat in video games. I don't care if you tell me I'm wrong about the other stuff, that last part is objectively true. So you're just bumming around Silver Spring, the former city of the damned, and a plague happened. That shit sucks, man, I know. With the weapons, you might recognize a lot of the attacks from the first Heretic and even the Hexen games. The fireball is wimpy and weak, the force blast spell is like a shotgun, somewhat like the ethereal crossbow in the last game but punchier. The phoenix rod is now a phoenix bow. The iron doom spell is like the powered version of the dragon claw in the first game, and its powered version in this game is like the powered version of the mace staff in the first game, which was the only reason to ever use the mace staff. Also electric explodey spell, firewall spell, and instead of the dragon claw being your extremely obnoxious sounding machine gun replacement, you get the Hell Staff, which is like the first game's Hell Staff, but the powered up version doesn't do this cool effect here with the rain. It just shoots like a machine railgun. Not that they removed that storm effect, they just gave that to the storm bow. Shoot an arrow into the general vicinity of an enemy, and not only does it drop damaging rain on them, it strikes them with lightning. It's endlessly useful. 10 out of 10. As for defensive spells, you get the Tome of Power, which will strengthen all your primary attacks on offensive weapons. You get the Rig of Repulsion, another hex and holdover that works fine, I guess. Teleport, you get it really late in the game and it sends you back to the start of the map. It can get you out of sticky situations, or one time I got stuck in the level for some reason, I don't know. Meteor Storm, one of the more useful ones, which locks on and homes into targets, which is really helpful for these things. These harpies will fucking get to them. The Lightning Shield, which is also awesome and useful, blasted nearby enemies with, well, lightning. And the Morphovum, again, returning from the previous game, so it can turn enemies into chickens, which is never not satisfying. Most of these weapons, if not the attacks, have all appeared in the series before, but here they're all as refined as they've ever been, and they're really fun to use. What else? Shrines. Shrines are important. You have Spirit Shrines, which can top your health off to 150. You got armor shrines that either give you the silver armor worth 100 points, or the gold armor worth, holy shit, 250 points? Seriously? Okay, that's cool. There's boring ones too, like shrines to refill your mana pool, shrines to let you breathe underwater for longer, a rarely seen reflective shrine that can bounce projectiles off of you, a light shrine because we don't have a torch anymore, a ghost shrine, which is in the manual and I'm sure is somewhere in the game, but I've never seen it, and which might be a pretty clever joke, honestly. There's chaos shrines that give you something random, but the best is the blade shrine, which upgrades the attack on your staff so that it can, I don't know, be a flaming stick of unyielding death. This game isn't nearly as hard as previous Raven games, like specifically fucking Hexen 2. Heretic II starts off easy enough, killing all your fellow townspeople who got infected with the plague, some of whom can turn invisible for some reason, elf magic. There's the townspeople, the rats, and the plague spreaders who will give you trouble at the beginning because they shoot this plague gas that really, really fucks with you. I mean...
Corvus, you must listen to me. You have been infected.
No. Not now! I will not fall to this!
Yeah, well, it happens.
I can protect you for now.
There's no mechanic of you dying from the plague, don't worry about it. As far as I can tell, they developed this game in less than a year. It shows occasionally, but not often. The cutscenes are just, they're okay, I guess. They're cheesy as hell, but they don't look bad for 1998 cinematics. The plot is usually told to you through in-game cinematics, though. Which, also for 1998, not bad. Nobody's mouth moves, but they all have cutscene-specific animations, and it almost looks like they're emoting sometimes. Corvus actually had a rudimentary skeletal backbone for his model so he could, like, look around convincingly instead of being like this.
You are Corvus? Oh, forgive me.
You know of me?
The Slayer of Desperal. A hero's tale travels far.
Who are you? What has happened to Silver Spring and our people?
I was once the harbor master. I am Draenor. The people, they hide. At least those who've been spared.
Spared?
From the plague. The infected, they are consumed by insanity. They attack anyone in sight. Thousands have died. But you can save us once again. There's talk that a Sithra healer has found a cure. Across the swamps in Andoria. You must go there.
It is not my destiny to be a hero. Can you help me?
The heretic. You are Corvus.
I know who I am. Are you the healer? Will you help me?
Yes, I am Sianan the healer, but I cannot help you.
I'm having trouble just getting to the point of this, because this game is really fun. Everything blends together really well. There's basically 4 sections of the game. Silver Spring, then Andoria, then Kachekrik, then Morcalavan's Fortress. You go to Andoria to find a cure for the plague, and once you're done fetching the ingredients for that cure...
Yes. It heals just as before.
Potion. It's not... Why are you healed and not me? Why?
I feared this. Sithra are not like the she.
The what?
The she.
Okay, but there's a D in that word, and that's how I'm going to pronounce it.
Our anatomies are very different. The cure must be incompatible with your kind.
Can it be fashioned for the she?
Not in time to save you. But don't give in to fate just yet. The High Priestess of Kachekrik is very wise in the arts of magic. She may be able to conjure a cure. Fight magic with magic.
Kachekrik? It is too far. I would have to travel around the Kel Mountains.
Corvus is kind of a dick sometimes, but I understand. If I'd been trapped in the Heretic Shadow and Serpent Riders episodes for years, I'd be pretty upset too. If you haven't played those, this is what the first level is like. It's like hell beneath all over again. So the healer sends you through some caves to Kachekrik, which is where the God damn it. Which is where these giant fucking bug people live. It's assumed that they're immune to the plague and they want nothing to do with the outside world. So Corvus, who's infected, storms into their fucking hive and kills everyone who stands in his way. You gotta understand, right? The Sithra, who are infected by the plague, which the healer finds a cure for them, that works and that you brought him, and you kill the shit out of all of them. The Kachekrik are not infected, at least not visibly, and you're not only bringing the plague into their walls, you're invading their fucking nest, like where they lay their eggs, where their brood mothers are. And there are these things running around that also appear in the wild called Gakroken. Thank fuck I still have the manual for this game. Gakroken usually live in the wild, but they're also in this hive all over the place, which leads me to believe they're like pets, they're like dogs. I'm busting in there and killing everybody and their dogs, and nobody says anything about it. If there was a sequel, it would be about one of these fucking bugs going John Wick on me. The Chekrik eventually capture you, which is bullshit. I could have taken all of them.
Because you have returned the warrior's amulet, you will be granted permission to earn the right to see the High Priestess.
Challenge accepted.
To get to the Queen, you have to go through the gauntlet, which is, you know, platforming and stuff. It's not bad, I guess. I didn't have much trouble with it. Every time I roll through one of these, I feel like Indiana Jones. When you fight the Chekekrik Queen, she is affected by the plague.
Truth be told, I am grateful to you. The madness has disappeared, for now it seems.
Madness?
Katie, if you put a Sparta clip in there, I'm gonna tell him about you and You want to lose his pension, Katie? You want his wife to find out?
I thought the Chekrik were unaffected.
Not fully. Morcalavan's magic is powerful. He uses a unique strain of the plague to control anyone he wishes. Myself, your celestial watcher, even his own people. We have all become part of his army.
Why does a bug have titties? This was years before DeviantArt.
Actually, Civvie, there are some types of flies, cockroaches, and even spiders that lactate.
Oh, hey, there you are. It's really cool that you know that.
Also, I think it's important
Katie,
to
cut his
discuss
bike.
Morcalavan is a seraph.
A lie! A seraph would never unleash such evil!
And she helpfully opens a portal to Morcalavan's fortress. Morcalavan is the one responsible for the plague, because he's a seraph, an ancestor race of the Civvie, the story really suffers from the let's get this game out by Christmas philosophy, which is weird because it released on Halloween. Now you go straight to the mines, and any difficulty this game had is practically gone by this point. This section of the game is the weakest, I mean after the mines, because I can't help but be charmed by the ogles. They're described in the manual as a short, pathetic creature that lives on the darkest part of almost any mountain range. That's kinda harsh. They're enslaved by Morcalavan's goons. The most common enemies you'll see going forward are whip goons, axe goons, and the plague spreaders from before, aside from some fire traps, which are more deadly than any enemy in this game. If you damage these slave drivers enough, the ogles will start attacking them. You know what? My heart isn't made of stone. This is adorable. Whatever they're mining down here, there's liquid that sets you on fire if you touch it.
I'll have to open this elsewhere.
I spent the last parts of this game breezing through most of it, slashing these dudes apart with the blade while using a defensive spell. At least on the normal skill, you can dominate through this section. The enemies are slow, they usually don't do a lot of damage to you. Gold armor shrines are everywhere. I'm not going to say that being able to do this kind of thing late game isn't totally awesome, but I was expecting more of a challenge from a Raven game. Makes me think that these last areas got the least amount of care before release. Okay, so this is the strategy I used for the last parts of this game. It's foolproof.
You may have been a seraph once, but are no more.
You have slain the mighty Serpent Rider. I suppose you intend the same for me?
If it has to come to that.
Spoiler alert, it comes to that. And Morcalavan goes down like a pussy too, because once you damage him enough, you jump into the center of the arena and press the use key while he's down. It's simple, and I didn't die once. Okay, Morcalavan was trying to cast the spell of Ascension to make his nearly immortal godlike form into a fully immortal godlike form. He needed all of the Tomes of Power to do this, but since Corvus had one of them in some shitty backwoods dimension that Desperal sent him to, Morcalavan decided he would just try to use a fake one, and then that released a plague that nearly wiped out the world. Good job, asshole. So to beat him, you have to finish that spell with your Tome of Power. After hitting a bunch of switches around the entire goddamn castle that deactivate the tomes in the arena for some reason, yeah, the final section isn't great. But what pisses me off is that Morcalavan ascends anyway, leaving your sorry ass to clean up his mess. No, send him to hell. Send him to Hell's Maw or whatever. What the fuck is this? He just gets away, and even when he's not crazy evil anymore, he sounds...
Corvus, the plague is no more.
Still really crazy? And evil? And then it just kind of abruptly ends. I assume Corvus gets the shaft again and has to rebuild the whole society. Dude can't catch a break, but I guess he's king now.
As I rise, so must you. Forge the way. Undo the wrongs I have done.
That I will.
I would still highly recommend this game. I hope id and Activision stop fucking fighting about it and give us a proper re-release. It's not like you can't already run it under Windows 10. Alas, Raven Software is doomed to an eternity of Call of Duty. Poor bastards. There's a Nevermore joke in there, but God, I don't want to do it.